It's another episode on Beyond Business with Mo. My name is Mo Bioli and I am your host on this channel. Welcome to another episode, everyone. Thanks for being here and thanks for coming back to this channel every time. Your support is not taken for granted, your support is really appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so on today's episode, now, over the last couple of days or weeks, and I've seen this quite a number of times, where I have business leaders or business owners get really frustrated with their employees and say that we have communicated this, we have discussed this. And then you come back to me, or I come back to you, I actually do the follow up. I come back to you and I'm saying, have you done this? What's the feedback with this? And you get excuses like, oh, we thought, I thought, okay, and the begins to set in without any feedback. If you are one of these bosses, or if you are one of the leaders who have been experiencing this, or you fall into this category, I just want to tell you, you are not alone. And let's just talk about a few things that we can do to probably get better results with our people. With bosses or leaders that I see in this category, when I kind of do the analysis, I come to realize that a lot of the times the bosses are here, as in like they are at a great top height, and their people are somewhere down there. So the gap, right? The gap is usually huge between the thinking, the understanding, the clarity of the boss to the clarity, the understanding of the employee. Now, we're not talking now about the strategies for recruiting these people because they are already on board, they're already fully integrated with your system. It's just that the integration is not integrated. One way or the other, it's not integrating, and therefore you are having this issue. Before we go in, I would just like to say this. There are times that you get really frustrated after recruiting some people, and you're like, why can't you just get it? Why can't you just run with it? Why can't you just understand that this is the vision and all of that? And I just want to tell you that some people will forever be toxic to your setting because they are not the right fit. They may thrive extremely well in some other settings, in some other businesses, and you wonder, how come you didn't do well when you were with me? It's just because they're not the right fit for you. That's it. So some people will always say, now for the employee, a certain environment will always be toxic for you, even though there are other people who seem to enjoy working there. But for you, it's just toxic. You just don't like it. You just don't like the system. You just don't like how it works. I remember there was a time, well, I'm not going to mention names, but there was a particular institution, and there was a merger and acquisition of these two great two institutions, and someone that I knew very well couldn't just cope, didn't just want to stay in this other one. I don't like the culture there. I don't like, but guess what? There's so many people in this other organization and they are thriving at it. So a lot of these people who felt I don't want to stay here, or I don't like the culture here, resigned and moved to other institutions. That does not mean they are incompetent, or that does not mean that that institution is toxic or is bad. What am I trying to say? There are some people who your core values, your drive, and everything align so well and will work very well together. Whereas there are some people who, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, it's just not going to work. They are just not the right fit, or both parties are just not the right fit. Now, that being said, right? I just want to say, when you fall into the category where you have hired this person, you spent a lot of time you've spent money in recruiting these people or these persons, and somehow one way or the other they're just not delivering. And we find out that your level of thinking is so much higher than their level of thinking. In cases like this, simplicity and specificity is what you have to embrace, right? You have to embrace. And what do I mean by this? This means that you have to clearly communicate their goals and objectives in very simple terms, and also with very specific descriptions and like accountability measures at the end of the day. So let's break that down a little bit more. So don't tell them, oh, our KPI is 100% of reduction, blah, blah. They don't get it. It means that for them to understand what you're driving at, you need to roll up your sleeves and execute partially with them, and then they can run with it, right? Which means you get involved in the execution of whatever objective or assignment you have given them. That is how some people, no matter how much you break it down, they're visual. Now, if that individual is a visual person, when you try to explain, he or she has an idea but doesn't quite get it until you show them how it is done. They're different people. Now, for some people, you just need to break down that technical terminology that you're using and break it down into simple things. So, oh, excellence is our core value. They don't get it. The customer pays our bills. They don't understand it, right? So you have to show them what it means to be excellent at the business. You have to show them how to attend to the client, and sometimes you probably have to go out with them to do this thing they're doing so that they understand what it is. Now, that is one. Communication has to be simple, it has to be specific, and implementation has to be with you involved, which means be involved in implementation. I know you want to have peace of mind. I know you want to be able to attend to other things while they're doing other things. But you see, the act of implementing or you executing a part of the implementation process of the implementing is you training them on the job, because that's the next phase. So number one, we're communicating with simple and specific terms. Number two, we hold them accountable, right, for whatever measure we decide for the thing we commit into their hands. Number three, we communicate in simple terms. We hold them accountable, right? And we show them in the place of implementation and execution. We show them what it is that we are aiming for, driving at, so that they can understand. So, and number four, right, is the fact that maybe sometimes, it doesn't always work with everyone, but sometimes training, right? No, well, it actually works with everybody. Training is very, very important. So while you are implementing with them, while you're rolling up your sleeves to work with them, you're also training them on the job. So training on the job is extremely important. It is, should we take it back? In fact, so let's go back to communication, right? With clarity, with simplicity, with specificity, everything. Communication, clear communication. They need to understand it. Number two, hold them accountable. Tell them the accountable measures of the implication of their actions or the objectives that you are giving them. Number three, implementation and execution is very, very important. So we are asking that you work in your business to get to show them what it is they need to do. And number four is training on the job, right? Training on the job. So the thing with number three and four is that somehow overlaps, because when you get to show them how it is done, you are also training them on the job. Now, that is aside you finding or looking for an appropriate external kind of training that will suit, right, the role and the learning, required learning for the individuals in this, in the business, for what you want them to do. But training on the job is so important. It is, and it is very, very efficient, because sometimes training outside can be theoretical. It is theoretical, while training inside is actually practical, and practical tends to stick, because somehow seeing you do what it is they need to do speaks to the subconscious, which kind of stays on, right? And it becomes something they can easily pull out again when they need to do it, until they master the process, right? Okay, so let me just go through this again, right? So number one, we communicate with these employees in a very simple, clear terms. Simple, specific, and clear terms. Simple, specific, and clear terms. Number two is hold them accountable. There must be some form of accountability here, saying this is the objective. Now I have explained it to you. I have told you this is what you need to do. I will ask for feedback, or come to my office at so time and explain to me what you have done, which means come back and give me feedback, continuous feedback, embrace it. Number three is the fact that implementation and execution also has to have your fingers and hands all over it, which means you have to demonstrate what it is you're expecting from them. You have to demonstrate it yourself as the leader, in order to bridge the gap of communication. And number four, training on the job is essential. You have to embrace it. You have to commit to it to be able to see and get some positive results. Now, does all of this solve it? Not every time, not every time. So you have to also give yourself a break. You are not the one with the problem, but sometimes this happens, and you have to be consistent at it. So consistency in with these things will definitely yield you some positive results. Now, thank you so much for having me today, or for joining me on this channel today. And I hope that you have gained one or two things from what we talked about today. Again, we will see you pretty soon. Remember, like, subscribe, click on the bell icon for every time I drop a video. You take care, and cheers.